This video is sponsored by Normandy 1998, Ash, Christopher Mitchell and 212th Trooper. We pick up with Ash and Co as they arrive in Ecruteak City, who made good time since their encounter with Faulkner. While Ash had not said anything further about the Tetsuya situation since the meeting with the young police officer, Bugsy can tell that he is still bothered by the thought that a student of his grandfather is using his craft to cause trouble for more people than just him. Truthfully, this is the bug specialist worried, since a part of him wonders if their accelerated pace is an attempt to catch up with the Marauder. Though having heard how Tetsuya tried to recruit and then abduct Ash during their previous encounter, Bugsy is certain the last thing his old pal should be doing is trying to pick a fight with that guy. Thankfully, the sight of Ecruteak and its traditional aesthetic so similar to Azalea Town seems to calm some of Ash's fervour, as he visually relaxes once they're within the city limits. Curiously, Domino asks if the black-haired boy intends to head straight for the gym and a chance to earn his next badge, though smiling, Ash refutes this, stating that he actually wants to see the burned tower first, since due to coming from a family that values the old ways, nowhere in Johto is more historically significant than the husk of the old structure. At his side, Voltorb lets out an equally eager noise, with Bugsy and Domino shrugging that it looks like the decision's been made for them then, as they follow the pair towards the charred spire in the distance. Up close, the burned tower seems less like a monument to old Johto, and more like what its name suggests, an immolated wooden building that should have been torn down long ago, and most definitely shouldn't have people going into it. Or at least that is what Domino thinks as she reluctantly tells the boys, taking care with each step as she can't shake the feeling the floorboards beneath her might give way at any moment and send her plunging into the unknown depths. Surprisingly though, they actually manage to hold, even being steady enough that she, Ash and Bugsy can ascend to the highest remaining level of the tower, which to its credit has a beautiful view of Ecruteak and the surrounding forest which look majestic. Smiling broadly at this sight, Ash throws an arm around the shoulders of both of his friends, stating that this is why there's nowhere in the world like Johto. Letting out a laugh, Bugsy playfully mocks that Ash wouldn't know considering he never left their hometown before they started this journey, to which Ash smirks back that sure he hasn't been many places, but he just knows. Unless Mr. Johto League gym leader is trying to say that his region is in a special place. Extricating herself from this bickering, Domino steps away from the boys to examine something in one of the corners, though before she can get much of a chance, a sudden roar behind her makes her jump, and looking back she is shocked to see the tower ablaze exactly like it was over 100 years ago. From the expression on Ash and Bugsy's faces, they see this too, and so in tone of terror Domino demands to know what they're going to do. A bit flustered, Bugsy protests that she shouldn't look at him, since all his Pokemon are bug types, so all they'll be able to do is go up in flames, though thankfully, Ash has a practical solution, as without hesitation he whips out his lure ball and calls forth Totodile, instructing it to use water gun on the growing flames. Yapping happily, Totodile proceeds to do just that, channeling a torrent of water in its mouth and then spitting it out. However, to the group's great shock, this just seems to pass right through the flames, not even evaporating or putting a dent in the wall of fire. Were they not all panicking? One of them might have stopped to consider how odd this is, though instead they are more focused on coming up with a plan B. That is until a blonde-haired man with a headband comes strolling out of the flames as though they were nothing, before politely but firmly telling the firewall that this is enough. Unsurprisingly, the fire does not obey him any more than it did Totodile's water gun. Though remaining calm in spite of this, he instructs a Gengar that none of the kids can see to bring this little game to an end. At once, a great purple ghost with malevolent red eyes emerges from his shadow, and as it bellows its name at the fire, it suddenly begins to shift and change, going from red, orange, and yellow to various shades of purple, and becoming less flame-like and more reminiscent of fog. Then, one by one, the shapes transform into the recognizable form of a dozen or so Ghastlies, each of whom looks suitably chastened by Gengar's words. Smiling now, the headband man tells the travelers that he hopes they now know that they were never in danger, and that the local Ghastly were just playing pranks as they like to do. Calming down a bit, Bugsy admits that in retrospect it makes sense, since it never actually got hot like it would if there was a real fire, and all their sweating was from fear more than anything. Though all the same, they gratefully showed up when he did, otherwise who knows what stupid thing they might have done to escape the quote-unquote fire. Laughing they wouldn't be the first to fall for this prank, the man then introduces himself to the group as Morty, saying that he's the Ecruteak City gym leader, with Ash remembering Faulkner warning him about this man. This just makes Morty laugh harder, as he says that Faulkner can be a bit uptight, so anyone who isn't as rigid as him he treats with suspicion, a fact Ash and his friends can certainly attest to. Nonetheless, Morty adds that he won't deny the fact that he and his ghost types enjoy a good prank, they just know when to call it quits before someone gets hurt. Smiling they appreciate this sentiment, Ash and co prepare to leave, having had quite enough excitement for one day, but before they can, Morty asks if Ash doesn't want to challenge him. After all, he figures if he was talking to Faulkner he must be taking the gym challenge. Nodding, Ash confirms that he does and is, to which Morty suggests they should have their match today at twilight, since that's his favourite time to battle, on the cusp between the mundane world of day and the more mercurial and potentially sinister world of night. Despite the ominous nature of this request, Ash accepts without hesitation, and so after a stop off at the Pokemon Center and an early dinner, he arrives at the gym for his battle. To his surprise, instead of being anything creepy, it's just a traditional shrine, with this putting Ash at ease, as does the well-lit battlefield, though Bugsy warns this is almost certainly a trick to lull him to a false sense of security. However, teasing that his friend will go graze his grandpa if he keeps worrying like that, the black-haired boy takes his place on one end of the field, while Morty's referee explains that this battle will be a 3-on-3, which is fine by Ash. With this settled, Morty takes the first move, calling forth his very own Ghastly, while Ash in turn picks his Ledian. Buzzing determinedly, the 5-star Pokemon readies her 4 fists, having become quite partial to her Muck Punch barrage. However, this time that strategy is off the table, as being a ghost type, Ghastly is entirely immune to fighting moves. In fact, with Tackle also not being an option and Attract being a coin flip, this only leaves Bug Bite as a viable option, and this is meant in the loosest sense possible, as Ghastly quad resists the bug move, meaning it is less of a bite and more of a harmless gumming. All the same, this is the only offensive move they have, so they're kinda stuck with it. Though, figuring maybe they can whittle Ghastly down if it's distracted by infatuation, Ash's Lady and use Attract, seeing the ephemeral pink hearts dance around her, though when they fire, Ghastly vanishes, seemingly becoming one with the ether to avoid the attack. However, the Spectre has not gone long, as a moment later it reappears behind Ledian and blasts her point blank in the back with Nightshade. Having not expected this attack, the Bug Flyer is sent reeling. Though pressing their advantage, Morty has Ghastly keep it up, striking Ledian twice more before she can right herself in mid-air. This leaves the 5-star Pokemon looking rather worse for wear. The remaining devoted to her trainer, she flies upwards once more, ready to put her all into one last Bug Bite. Though sadly, this will never land, as like before, Ghastly vanishes only to appear behind her and finish her off, giving the first win to Morty. Recalling his first capture with his thanks, Ash next brings out Voltorb, who he instructs to use Magical Leaf. This is undeniably a clever move, as while Ghastly can vanish and pop back into view elsewhere, the leaves continue to follow it, their magic guaranteeing they will land no matter where their target goes. Unfortunately, being part poison type, these don't do much damage to the Gas Pokemon, while in contrast, its Nightshade is enough to blast Voltorb back, though as he tumbles, Ash gets an idea, and so tells his partner to keep rolling. Seeing where his trainer is going with this, the Sphere Pokemon turns this momentum to his advantage, all the while gathering more in preparation for their attack. Figuring that Ash is running scared, Morty commands Ghastly to give chase and finish off the wooden Pokemon with another of its Ghost-type blasts. Though to Ash and Voltorb's credit, each time a Nightshade is fired from behind the Grass Electric type, his trainer is able to warn him, allowing him to dart out of the way and avoid most of the damage. This also helps build up even more kinetic energy, which is what the pair need. So as Ghastly finishes another of its attacks, Ash calls his, Thunderbolt. At once a burst of electrical energy flies forth from the ball and back into the poison Ghost type, lighting up its darkness and turning its eyes into spirals, putting Ash and Morty back on even footing. Though, maybe that's the wrong word, as neither Ash nor Morty's next Pokemon Haunter actually have feet. However, what Haunter does have is a very long tongue, which upon closing in with greater speed than Ghastly, it rakes across Voltorb's face, causing him to shiver. Figuring this must be the larger Gas Pokemon specialty, Ash instructs his starter to start rolling again so he can charge up another Thunderbolt, a plan which would work if not for the fact that now Morty can see it coming. As a result, rather than giving chase, the gym leader has his Pokemon wait until Voltorb is ready to strike. Then, as the Hisuian Orb turns to face Haunter, he commands his ghost to use Hypnosis. Raising his disembodied hands, the Gas Pokemon begins manifesting a ring of soporific energy, which upon striking Voltorb causes his eyes to grow heavy and soft snores to emanate from the hole on top of his head. Recognizing this effect, Bugsy tells Ash to swap out, though it seems Morty is one step ahead, calling for a mean look that traps the sleeping Voltorb in the battle, and leaves it completely vulnerable to the Nightshade barrage that follows. Against such an onslaught, Voltorb sadly stands no chance, and so with very little fanfare is defeated, bringing Ash down to his third and final Pokemon. Unsurprisingly, this is Totodile, with a Bitey Croc doing a happy little dance that's brought onto the field. Approvingly, Morty states that this is the valiant little water type who tried to help with a fake fire earlier. He just hopes it battles with as much devotion and conviction. Smiling in spite of his disadvantage, Ash replies that it certainly battles with enthusiasm. Then, as if to prove this, he commands Totodile to use Water Gun. Channeling a torrent of water into its mouth like it did earlier, the goofy croc lets loose a powerful blast, with Morty having to call for Haunter to vanish out of genuine concern for the damage this might do. However, perhaps it would have been better if he'd let this land, as when he has Haunter appear behind Totodile, Ash's warning allows the starter to turn around and bite down the ghost type's exposed tongue. To bite one's own tongue is bad. To have been bitten by a crocodile with the jaw strength to supposedly crush anything is far worse. Add onto this the fact that the bite is a dark move and therefore super effective on Haunter, and you get a scream of pain so visceral that its eyes literally pop out of their sockets for a moment, before it flops to the ground unconscious. Shaking his head in disappointment at his own short-sightedness, Morty comments that he should have known a Pokemon like Totodile would have a move like that. But no matter, he and his final Pokemon won't make the same mistake again. At these words, the Gengar from earlier slides its way out of Morty's shadow, and on the gym leader's command fires off a Shadow Ball from range, evidently not wanting to get close to Totodile and its terrifying jaws. Thankfully, this is not Totodile's only trick, as by firing water guns it is able to detonate the orbs of Umbral energy in midair, so that it takes no damage, and in one or two cases Gengar itself is caught in the explosive and super effective aftershocks of its own attack going boom. Seeing this could actually be a problem if it persists, Morty once more used one of his tricky support moves to improve his chances of victory, this time being Confuse Ray. With a cackle, Gengar's red eyes glow ominously, while at the same time a haziness fills Totodile's, leaving it vulnerable to Shadow Balls, while it will also hurt itself in its confusion. At least that is what the Ghost Specialist thinks, as instead of attacking the wall or itself as is common with confusion, Totodile just starts boogieing to a beat only it can hear. While this is less than ideal, at least it's stopped using Water Gun, meaning Gengar can begin lobbing Shadow Balls with more force and frequency. However, once again Totodile's inextricable luck comes to the rescue, as even though it cannot comprehend Ash's cries to dodge, its dancing allows it to avoid the worst of these attacks, only taking a bit of damage, though not enough to stop the groove. Neither Ash nor Morty can fully believe what they are seeing here, though knowing better than to look a gift Mudsdale in the mouth, the Raven-haired boy tells his friend to use Water Gun again. In a brief moment of lucidity, this manages to get through to Totodile, who launches the attack once more, striking Gengar directly this time and making the ghost shake its body in midair to dry itself, before letting out a big belly laugh, since in spite of being its opponent, the Shadow Pokemon finds the little water type very amusing. However, this does not mean it will pull its punches, or rather its Shadow Balls, as on its trainer's command it rains a storm of these down on Totodile. Worriedly, Ash tells the Jotonian starter to dodge, though in its befuddled state, the little croc instead hears, "Eat them," and so following what it believes are its instructions, it opens wide and begins filling its mouth with more and more Shadow Balls until its face is cartoonishly distended. Only when it has got them all does lucidity break through again, with the croc wondering if maybe this was a bad idea, though when letting out the smallest of unsure groans, it sets the orbs off, creating an explosive chain reaction of darkness. From his side, Morty confidently smirks that surely this must have finished Totodile off, though in this he is wrong, as from the gloom emerges a terrified scream as the big jaw Pokemon is sent hurtling end over end into the air, now covered in blast marks. No matter, surely the landing will finish it, which means this battle is all but over. Another false assumption, as while hitting the ground at this point probably would do it, Totodile lands somewhere else, mouth first onto Gengar's ear. Seeing the path to victory now, Ash yells out for Totodile to chomp down, and chomp it does, digging its fangs deep into Gengar and making it wail and flail as it tries to get this uninvited parasite off its ear. However, now that its teeth are in, the little water type isn't going anywhere, a fact that becomes clear when Gengar begins bashing both of them against the roof and wall only to fail at dislodging its foe. Switching to plan B, Morty next instructs his partner to dive for the ground, so if they can find a shadow to hide in, Totodile won't be able to come with it. However, here the trick Bugsy predicted comes into play, with Gengar in fact being its victim, as due to being a flat well-lit field, Gengar has nowhere to hide. Then, suddenly, as if on random, Totodile lets go, with Morty smiling that he knew confusion would favour him eventually, though for the third time in a row it seems that he is wrong. As when Ash looks at Totodile, he sees that its eyes are clear, having been snapped out of the confusion by the dark explosion, and so recognizing what his water starter has in mind, he grins wide just like Totodile is, and orders a point-blank water gun from behind, which catches Gengar off guard and sends it crashing to the ground with spirals for eyes. Nonetheless, as soon as the battle is over, Gengar is back up, laughing heartily with Totodile, as plainly both combatants enjoyed their match, and being able to test themselves against someone equally out of the box. Seeing this budding friendship, Morty suggested if Ash wants he could trade him one of his Pokemon for Totodile, since it would fit in great with his 3 Jokers, though smiling, Ash declines, saying that he wouldn't give away Totodile for all the Pokemon in the world. Nodding a little sadly, Morty replies that he quite understands, though if he can't give him one of his Pokemon, then at least let him present the young challenger with this, a well-earned fog badge, and his best wishes for the rest of his Johto League journey. And that's where we'll leave things. What further growth can Ash and Totodile expect to see together? When will our heroes have their next encounter with Tetsuya? And which of the remaining 4 gyms will Ash challenge next? Find out as the journey continues.